Well, the election is over, and guess what, folks? The snowflakes have taken to the streets. Yes, the liberal crybabies are everywhere, filling up the streets from coast to coast. Oh, I can't take this. Donald Trump won. Whatever will we do? Henny penny, the sky is falling. Seriously, grow up. This is absolutely, as somebody likes to say, ridiculous. But there's a reason for this. There's a precedence that has been set, and there are several entities that are to blame for this. And who are they? Well, first of all, President Obama himself has set this atmosphere. The media, the Democratic Party, and even Mr. Trump himself is partly to blame for the reaction we're getting right now. Now, first of all, President Obama, what did he do to set this atmosphere? I think it should be obvious, but once again, the mass media isn't talking about any of this stuff. They're not bringing up the fact that President Obama is completely absent in the midst of all this chaos. He's the leader of this entire country. And just like he did when they had the riots in Milwaukee and North Carolina, he's nowhere to be found. So the rule of law is not being enforced by the head guy in charge. He's not making a single appearance anywhere. As a matter of fact, you'll remember back in the riots in Baltimore and Milwaukee, they said to give the rioters space to damage stuff. Where did this come from? What chapter of the playbook did this come from? This makes no sense. Or does it? My contention is that it absolutely does make sense. Because as we know, Obama is a radical. And radicals like to see chaos. So, just like over the past couple of years, we have protests that are turning into riots. People are getting hurt. It would take a 2-minute address from the leader of the free world. He's still in office until the right man for the job takes over, Donald Trump. But for now, this lame duck could take 2 minutes out of his busy day and say, settle down, folks. Things will work out. And I think we would see a dramatic change, but he's not going to do that because he's a radical. Just as we know, he's not an Alinskyite. Okay, he wants to see Rome burn. And what is he doing while Rome is burning? He's sitting there like a pyromaniac with his hands ringing, pleased as a peach, I'm quite sure. This is what he wanted from the beginning. This man has done more to set America back than I can even get into right now. So first and foremost, President Obama is responsible for this. If he had laid down the law at any point in any of these uprisings or riots, this wouldn't be happening right now. You have the right to peaceable assembly. As long as you're assembling peacefully, nothing happens. But the minute you start setting cop cars on fire, burning businesses, or even setting the flag on fire, every one of their butts needs to be arrested and seriously charged. Stop the whole thing right then and there. But that's not going to happen because that's not what the radical wants. Now, the media and the Democratic Party, I have to address them simultaneously because after all, they're the same being. They are symbiotic, as we know at this point. The mass media is a complete extension of the Democratic Party, which is obviously massively lopsided, and at some point we'll get into that also. So how did they set the stage for this? I think that's quite clear. During this entire election process, they completely demonized Donald Trump. They lied and distorted the truth. Anything Donald said that was even slightly poorly worded, they manipulated, they took his statements, and they added to it or took from it. Now, fine. We know that at times Trump could be inarticulate. But to paint the man as a racist, a bigot, a homophobe, they compared him to Hitler. You basically made him into the most villainous type creature you could because you believed by doing so you would defeat him and it wouldn't be a problem because Hillary would get in. But she didn't. And now here's the fallout from it. And I had talked about election fraud in my other videos. And unlike some of the other folks that are talking about politics, they've left that issue alone. Now, I'm not going to get into it in great detail here, but I'm telling you right now, voter fraud still did occur in this election. Okay? The only difference is the number of people that came out for Trump was so profound that they couldn't make up, they couldn't bridge the gap enough to forge it for Hillary. In any state that, like I said, I live in Connecticut, there's no support for Hillary anywhere. All you see for miles are Trump signs. And she supposedly won this state by 9%. That is a complete fallacy. She also did not, there's no way she won the popular vote. Voter fraud was rampant. And I'll tell you one quick example of that kind of points to the voter fraud issue. There were several states that were within the margin to ask for a recount. Why would she not ask for a recount if the margins were so close? I'll tell you why. Because under close scrutiny, the results would have shown the manipulation that had been going on. So they couldn't. But anyways, I'm getting a little bit off of topic on here. The basic point is, as usual, the biased media and the fraudulent Democratic machine perpetrated once again a fraud on the election process. As a matter of fact, Chris Cuomo came right out and said it. Go check it on YouTube. It's easy to find. He admitted. He said, and I quote, "We couldn't have helped Hillary anymore." This is on a news station. How is this permissible? I don't get it. You know, noted author Bruce Koval said, "Withholding information is the essence of tyranny. Controlling the flow of information is the tool of the dictator." And that is exactly what they are trying to do. They are trying to turn a democracy into a dictatorship. Now, it was supposed to be the Trump supporters that were violent and that would start a potential civil war or an uprising. And had Trump lost, who knows? They might have. Absolutely. But look what's happening now. All of the ones that are about inclusion and acceptance are not very accepting right now, are they? Because they lost. But, so, I watched the protests, and I wanted to see if there's any substance to what they're saying, to what they're feeling. I want to hear every viewpoint. I don't want to shut anything out. So I listened. And what were their complaints? What were they saying? It's horrible. First of all, most of them could barely get out an answer. When the reporter on the street would hold up the microphone to them, "Why are you here?" They would stutter and stammer and finally get out some lame thing that they had rehearsed or that they saw on the evening news. One of the young ladies was obviously Mexican, and she said, "Oh, well, I'm afraid my parents, they're going to be taken away from me. You know, they're here, they're undocumented, and I'm afraid I'm going to lose my parents." Well, first of all, your parents are not undocumented. They are illegal, okay? And that's the crux of the problem. You wouldn't be afraid about your parents being taken away from you if they didn't come here illegally in the first place. I don't understand why liberals cannot wrap their heads around this concept. There is something called the rule of law. So every time they cry about how mean it is to rip families apart, you have to look at the perpetrators of the offense, the people that are coming here illegally, subverting the process. How is this fair to the people that come here legally? So point number one, they have no point, okay? The fear of being ripped away from your loved ones, it's your loved one's fault. The onus, the responsibility falls on them. Then, I couldn't even believe this one. They pulled one person aside and they said, "Oh, Donald Trump is a homophobe and I'm afraid what he'll do to the gay community." Are you kidding me? This guy stood at the Republican National Convention and promised to do everything he could for the LGBTQ community in front of a bunch of Republicans. That was unprecedented. And then when they gave him a positive response, he said how happy he was to hear them giving a positive response. So these people are completely misinformed. And there's no merit to any of their causes. And then these claims of him being anti-black. So unsubstantiated, it's not even funny. There were a few things he said that were poorly worded, but he appealed to the black community. And yes, when he did that appeal, some of it was he characterized all black neighborhoods as being blighted and ghettos. And we know that not all black people live in these conditions. We know that he's guilty of being inarticulate. But it is not fair to label this guy as a racist. There is just not enough evidence, and it is a distortion, it is a fabrication of the mainstream media. As a matter of fact, a lot of people know that. People are not stupid. That is why he got more of the black vote than Mitt Romney did. And then they stuck a mic in front of another brain surgeon, libtard, and one of the talking points he spouted out was how Donald Trump was a xenophobe. A xenophobe. I don't think he has any idea what it means. To be xenophobic means to have an irrational fear of people from other countries. I don't think he's afraid of people from other countries, first of all. And second of all, he's not irrational about the situation. The fact is, there are people that are in other countries, particularly Muslims, that are at war with us. So the whole xenophobe talking point is once again another moot talking point that they have copied off the evening news. They just really have nothing. I believe a lot of them just have nothing better to do with their time. They want their 15 minutes of fame, and I also believe that they're being paid to do this. Just as they were paid agitators at the Trump rallies, I believe a lot, this is not organic, and this is being paid for by the George Soroses et al. In society. Now, I don't have substantive proof of this yet, and I will be following up and trying to keep track of it, and anything that I can find out that is substantial about this, I'll let you know. But as of right now, this is just my theory on the situation. Because if you look at these crowds, I don't care where you are, whether they were in Georgia, whether they're in the city or the suburb, wherever they are, these are all young white people. They had young white people chanting Black Lives Matter. I mean, Black Lives Matter wasn't even representing themselves. The vast majority of these people are millennials, 18 to 25, 30-ish years of age, and Caucasian. This, I guarantee you, is an organized effort. Now, that leads to the question, to what purpose, to what end? Because they don't believe that we're suddenly going to have a redo. Say, oh, forget it. You know what? You're right. We messed up the election. Donald Trump's not going to be our president. They don't believe that's going to happen. So what's the goal? The goal is to push the left agenda. They want to put enough pressure, cause enough of a ruckus to force down our throats the left agenda. The Democrats realized that they lost the battle, the big battle, but they still plan on winning the war. They still plan on opening these borders, and they still plan on multiculturalizing us, and they still plan on Islamifying us. So they hope with enough pressure they can get him to soften his stance on immigration south of the border, and also letting in refugees, Muslim refugees, and allowing the Muslims that are here to stay here. They want him to bend as much as they can. So now I kind of want to say a word to Donald Trump himself. Everything has changed for you, obviously. And you have to be more responsible with everything and anything you say and tweet out there. You can't just put a statement out and not have it based in facts and in solid facts. Because every time you do, that gives the opposition a chance to pounce on you. So before you do anything or say anything, you have to think it through. You are now the leader of the free world. These riots, protests, whatever you want to call them, they're going to fizzle out a couple of weeks, couple of days. They may show up again at the inauguration, but they will quickly be a thing of the past. And after a short time, a year, maybe two, people are going to see that this change was the only direction this country could have went in. And he will make substantial changes in his first 4 years. I'm putting it on record right now. He will get reelected, And when he leaves office in 8 years, he will have record approval ratings. That's it for the Bruce Scott Show. Goodbye. God bless.